Hey friends, we're so glad you're here and have tuned into So What Makes You Come Alive podcast. We're your hosts, Gabe the Girl
and Michaela McGee, and we're here to explore what it would look like to take ownership of and change the narratives of our lives to live a life fully alive.
Hey everybody, welcome back to So What Makes You Come Alive podcast with Michaela McGee and Gabe the Girl. We're so excited today to be doing one of our episodes where we talk about an interesting topic, something that we think will stir some very interesting conversation, but also hopefully encourage you and motivate you in one way or another. And today's topic is we're going to be talking about ownership over fate. Mm-hmm. Now, what do we mean when we're talking about ownership over fate, Michaela?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So we were just talking about this right before recording because, like you do, you got to practice your conversations, people. Yeah. But it's so powerful. I mean, so some of the stuff that did come up with this ownership over fate, there's this realization that we do actually have the power to co-create our lives. It's not that we're like born and we just give it up. We hold our hands up in surrender the second that we're born and like let life happen. Let our life be dictated by this divine source, by God, by some like higher power that we have zero connection with. Like that's not actually true. That would be fate, right? Just living in surrender and kind of letting life happen to you. Yeah. But when you step into this ownership of like, well, hang on a second, there is actually a connection to the divine. I'm living life in such a way that it's the divine plus me. I get to co-create with God. I get to tap into that. I get to use that to craft my story, to live a life that is exciting, that is fun, that is how I want it to be. And like, I mean, it's not necessarily like I then become the dictator, but it's a partnership. It really does get to be so beautiful. Like this, one of the questions was, what if we partner with the fixed elements of life to carve out our own narrative? Like how beautifully is that written too? Yeah. Like we get to carve it out. We get to be artists of our own lives.
Yeah, I love all of that. Yeah, we talked and chatted a little bit about this and we try not to talk too much about it because it might take away from, the actual conversation and what beautiful things just come up naturally as we're talking about these things that we're so passionate about, and we're so passionate about talking about with others. But I love what you said there about like handing our lives over to fate. We were talking about that before hopping on the podcast to start recording, but it just makes me think back to like those grade school days where it's like life, I mean, as a kid, we're all creative. We all get imaginative, we create our own worlds. We go out and we play with our friends. That's really, we're taking ownership of that free time with our friends or with our family. But a lot of life, I feel like as a kid, correct me if I'm wrong, just kind of happens to you, right? You're told we're going to the grocery store, or you got to get up and go to school. You got to get up and go to basketball practice. Like you're wearing this to school until your parents start, letting you have the creative freedom to choose. Right. And so I think back to like those early young adult years where, I kind of had this idea in my head of like how life was going to go. And I was like, okay, and then this will happen, and then this will happen, and then this, and you know what? It didn't. It didn't.
And the world ended.
And the world just got bigger and it got scary, but it was also exciting and kind of terrifying all at the same time. When I realized, I was like, I had watched, my older sister, make decisions with her life and like get married, right in her senior year of college. And, I wasn't up close and personal to like how they were writing their own stories, but from an outsider's perspective, I was like, oh, this is what happens. This is how my life is going to happen. And then when it didn't, I was like, wait a second. This is my Girl Meets World moment of like, I grew up watching Boy Meets World, like life is happening and he's growing and changing, but this is my like, okay, so wait, I actually have the ability to take ownership And I
Yeah.
didn't really start tapping into how much power I had in choosing to pick up the pen to write a better story until I moved to southern Spain, and Michaela was there with me, and one of my other team leader mentors was with me, and they spent a lot of time talking with me about like looking at my own life compass, looking at
Mm.
the passions that I have, the talents that I have, the things that make me uniquely me, and literally stepping into those things, owning those things. And yes, like you guys said, like we just talked about, like working with the fixed elements of our lives, which is like, I'm going to continue to get older. That's something I can't help. I can't change that. I can maybe, put on sunscreen, like protect myself, eat right,
Mhm.
do those things to kind of like take ownership of my
Yeah,
aging process. But I'm going to continue to age,
I
and
guess.
there are fixed elements like day and night. There are only so many hours in the day.
Mhm.
Like those fixed elements of our lives are just like, okay, when things change in our families, and somebody passes away, or you're let go from a job, like we have to take ownership of what we have the ability to write a better
Yeah.
story, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know what you were just saying actually has me thinking so much about like this um like programming that we receive from the time that we're kids by being told this is what you need to wear, this is how you need to act in this situation, this is what you need to do today. Like we're told that from such a young age all the way up until we become adults at 18,
Mhm,
and then all of a sudden we're supposed to be given free reign. Like we
mhm.
don't know how to operate in that creativity unless we're given that opportunity as
Yeah.
kids or as adults or whatever. But like even hearing what you were saying, like when you came to Spain and we did the Life Compass activity, we there was space created for you to say, hey, what if I do dream big? What if
Mhm.
I do co-create with the divine? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, even that statement just feel like I
Mhm.
get goosebumps when I think about it. I'm co-creating with the divine, you guys.
Yeah.
Like that is insane. It's insane when
Yeah.
you stop and think about it. Like we literally have access to whatever we want right at our fingertips when we step into that. But it's how do you really break free from that old way of thinking that like
Mhm.
life needs to be dictated? You need to go to school, then you get married, then you have kids, and you have your career, and then you retire, and then you enjoy your life. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
What if we chose to live a life that really lights us up right now? Like you
Oh
don't
yeah.
have to be in whatever stage of life you're supposed to be in, big air quotes there, at whatever age. Like it's your life. You get to carve it out. You get to be the artist of
Mhm.
your own life. But like, what is what does that look like? Like, what if you really
Yeah.
gave yourself the freedom to just imagine, to dream? And like maybe Gabe, do you want to share some of like what your experience was like doing that life compass not activity, what the heck? You know what I'm talking about, like the whole
Yeah.
life compass thing was
It,
like,
it was basically like month-long workshop kind of a thing,
there
or
we go.
was it a couple months? I mean, it's been so
Yeah,
long
right.
since we did that, but literally I come back to those exercises all the time. Like
Mhm.
I come back to really looking inside myself and looking at my story. Like it's an exercise that I have done as a life coach with other clients of mine has said, like, hey, get a few different colors of sticky notes, and grab a big poster board. This sticky note is for this type of this sticky note is for people that are influential, or books that are influential
Mhm.
in your life or have been over the course of your life. So for me right now, if I were to do this, I'm like looking back over the last 31 years, and I'm like, okay, what people or things have influenced me that are important to me, that have stuck out? And then you look at like what people in my life, what events in my life, whether they were really amazing events or like really tragic events, like
Mhm.
and then looking at like significant memories that you have, and like all of those elements, and you like put it all out, on a board, and you just kind of mark through like where was a chapter or a season, like what was of like a marking or definitive time across the timeline of your life. And when you step back from it and you look at it, you start to see themes. You start to
Mhm.
see like, okay, like why was this significant? Why was this important? Why does this stick out to me? Is this telling me something about who I am, or the things that I really value, in my own unique making as me, and then how do these things play out in my future, like what things are important to me. And it's this really amazing thing because none of us have the same story. Every person on this planet has lived a unique life. We all come from unique backgrounds and experiences. No person's story is the same. And that's also a beautiful thing too, because we have such power in being able to pick up the pen. I think one of the images that like probably changed my life for the better was like realizing that I kind of had grown up with a little bit of an idea that, you know, God was this big guy telling me what to do all the time. And that if I wasn't doing the right thing, then I was like freaking out because I was like, I have to do the right thing. I have to make the right decisions. Like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like,
Right.
or then just sitting back and letting things happen to you. It's like fate is not a great writer. um you know
No.
and dictator, like being dictated to like what you are to
Mhm.
do with your life is not a beautiful way to live. But what if like God, the divine, is sitting down with you on the floor with a huge poster board and all these colorful crayons or whatever, and saying, what do you want to create today? Like, I want to be with you. Like,
Mhm.
I trust you. I've given you the freedom to choose. I've opened many doors to you. Walk through. I'm with you there. And of course, there are always doors that get shut in our faces, and sometimes plans change at times. And I feel like there are clear markers when we're like, okay, this is, I don't think I'm going to continue down this road because signs say maybe this is not the direction
Yeah.
I should be going. So we're going to walk this direction instead.
Yes.
We're going to pivot,
Yeah. Pivot.
pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. But how true is that? I mean, I think that like even thinking about the signs of like, is this super challenging right now? Like, am I
Mm,
really benefiting from these challenges, or is it just super hard? Like my feet are just stuck in the mud and I'm drudging along. Like that is that to me is like a very clear, like, okay, maybe we really should pivot. Maybe we should explore some other directions because life really does, it does get to be joyful and fun and
mhm,
flowy and like that idea, that image that you just had of sitting down on the floor with the divine, with God, with whatever it is that you want to call that, that like higher power, that source of all that there is. You get to sit down with that being and just create, just like have fun.
mhm,
I can picture a child doing that, but I have a hard time honestly picturing me as an adult doing
mhm,
something like that. And even hearing you say that, I was like, ooh, like I'm a little triggered because I'm like, first of all, I don't know what to create. Like these are lies that I tell myself. Like I have zero creative freedom. What if I create the wrong thing? Like, am I going to get
mhm,
told that this is wrong or right or whatever? Like,
mhm.
am I going to just be kind of like looking at God the whole time being like, did I draw this one correct? Okay. No, no, no. Yeah, I'll scratch it out. It's fine. It's fine. I'll do it a different way. Like, no, these are things that we get to rewrite for ourselves. But clearly, I have a lot of stuff to work through, even still, about letting myself be creative and recognizing that we are all creative beings. Like we're made
Mhm.
that way. Accept
Yeah.
it, love it, dig into it. These are, I'm like talking to myself in the mirror right now, but really explore like, what does that creativity get to look like? What does it
Mhm,
mean to you? I mean, for me,
mhm,
I've found that I have a lot of creative expression in the kitchen, like in just like playing around, experimenting with different recipes, learning stuff in that way. My creative expression does not come out in painting or drawing or things that like my brain is like, well, that's creativity, nothing else is. Like, no, what does creativity mean to you? What does it look like in your own life? What does it get to be? And it really is as simple and yet profound as like writing your story. Like, what
Mhm.
do you really want for
Yeah.
your life?
Yeah.
Sit
Which
down
is
on the floor and draw it
exciting.
out.
So good. It's very exciting. And then I think there's an element of this as you're talking, and I'm thinking like, there's an element of this that when you do take ownership, that you have responsibility.
Mhm.
And it's also scary. Like that
Yeah.
raises the stakes quite a bit, right? Like knowing that I'm making this decision, I am responsible for
Mhm.
this decision that I'm making, is a huge element to owning your story, to picking up the pen and writing something. And you can't always determine what outcome there's going to be once you've
Right.
made that decision, right?
Mhm.
But, and, thinking about not being able to determine the outcome, I don't think we have to feel bad when things don't go the way that we thought they might go.
Right.
Like I think a lot of times we'll maybe rag on ourselves and be like, oh, well, I guess that just like I should have made a different decision. Or, like you feel down because you're like, well, this is what happens when I try to do something. It's like, oh, we got to get out of that mental
Right.
state of like
Yes.
shaming ourselves when things don't work out, and see
Mhm.
it as like this is an area of opportunity for growth. And I'm so thankful that whatever happened, because I also have the choice right now into to deal with this outcome in a really fruitful way, in a way that is actually not hindering me or affecting me in a negative way as much as it is going to launch me or going to add more resources or tools to my
Mhm.
bucket you know
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think that's even like the simplest switch from life is happening to me versus life is
hmm
happening for me. Like
hmm
there's always something that can be gained from whatever situation we're in. Like it's either a very obvious blessing, like holy moly, this is incredible. I love this gift that I'm receiving right now, or it's a lesson. And we
hmm
do get to use that to launch ourselves forward. We never are moving backwards, ever, ever. So
yeah
even if it feels like we've hit a dead end, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this situation? And what direction do I need to pivot to now? Pivot.
yeah
I can't not hear that. But
No,
it's
can't not
never
hear
like,
Ross in the back of my mind
right. Like you're not
yelling.
exactly, but you're not like pedaling backwards at any given
Mm-mm.
moment in life because you already have propelled yourself forward. You've learned everything that you've learned. You've gained the experiences, you've gained the friendships, you have the perspective.
Mhm.
And so now in this present situation, what direction do you really need to go to live life
Mm.
fully lit up, live life that really actually makes you come alive, live a life that is co-creating with the divine,
Yeah,
a fully owned life. Like,
heck yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going back to grade school here. I don't, this is foundational stuff. I'm thinking back
mm-hmm,
and I'm like, wow, I'm having all these like in the moment realizations of like kind of how I guess like my little mind was formed and trained from early
mm-hmm,
years. And so like I'm thinking back to grade school and I'm thinking like, all the tests that we took or exams that we did or papers that we wrote. And you always got a grade, whether that was like a letter grade or a number grade. And the most important thing was, keeping my GPA up or passing the
yeah,
class or making sure I got an A or a B. But I don't ever remember as a child or middle schooler, high schooler, looking at these things going like, oh, it's great that I didn't do well in this area because now I know, now I've learned, now I've grown. You don't think that way as an adolescent. And
mm-hmm,
I mean, we're not given or I didn't have teachers. We're not given the opportunity in those times of looking at things where I felt shame Like if I
Yes.
didn't do well, I was like, I didn't study hard enough, or,
Right.
like I did terrible, like I'm not a
Yeah.
good test taker. It was
Right.
always like boom, 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 boom. But
Right.
there was one, now as I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, there was one area in which I was able to grow and seeing things as an area of opportunity, and that was in the theater. I grew up in the
Oh.
theater. And so I did I don't know, in Texas we have UIL one act play competitions where, you have certain amount of time to set up. I think it's like 20 minutes or something like that. 20-minute setup time, 40-minute show, 20-minute teardown time. And then, at the end of these competitions with these plays, you've got several different schools competing. You have a time of constructive criticism. And everybody sits down with a notepad and we take notes and we're like, okay, this is what I'm changing next time. This is how I become better. This is an area that I get to improve in, so that next time when we go to competition, we blow them out of the water like all the other schools.
Yeah.
And so like I see that and I'm like, maybe, that's what I loved being in the creative realm, is because
Mm.
I did have, a a couple incredible teachers in that creative realm that were like, take what I'm giving you and make something out of it,
Mm.
rather than some of, my general ed, classes that were
You're
just
either
like,
right or
oh,
wrong.
you fail. Here you
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Big X.
Right. There's no opportunity to learn it in a different
Mm-mm.
way, which is ridiculous. When you think about like math, not all of our brains operate the same way,
Mm-mm.
and yet we're all taught math in like
Yep.
the same way. I remember seeing
Yep.
this when we were living in Spain, and the family that we worked with, like in our team that had kids in school there. And I remember saying like, yeah, I'm really good at math, so I can help them with their math. And I was like, whoa, what is this way that they are learning this math? Like, it was
Yeah.
so confusing to me. And I had to relearn how to freaking do division the Spanish way, which is like, when you then think about it, like how ridiculous is that? Like an entire country is like, this is the only way to teach people one particular
Wow.
subject. And if they can't
Yeah.
learn it, then they're wrong. Like, no.
Yeah.
Our brains are creative by nature. Like,
Mhm.
what if we could approach life in that same way that you got to experience that theater program and just
Mhm.
get to learn from that experience, figure
Mhm.
out how to improve? But it's improving on your own creative expression. Like, there's
Mhm.
again, it's no wrong way of doing things. It's just like, okay, that was awesome. How can I make it even more awesome?
Mhm.
Like, let's
Heck yeah.
make that be our life policy. This was an awesome day. How do I make tomorrow even more awesome? Or this is
Mhm.
what I learned today. How do I learn from it and make tomorrow amazing?
Yeah. This was really hard. And
Mhm.
yet, when I look at my life, I have survived 100% of my worst days because I'm still here and
Yes.
I'm still breathing. And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've still got the pen in my hand, no matter what the outcome was of what just happened because of the choice I made. Oh my gosh. Like
Mhm.
my decision to move to China for a year was not the decision that I really wanted to make in that time, but I really felt like I was supposed to go there. All the doors were open to me. I went. It was the worst, best year of my life.
Yes.
And yet I was like, we take this experience. We realize that the pen is still in my hand
Mhm.
and something beautiful gets to come of this, even though it was really sucky a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I got to co-create like redemption of the story. I get to use what I learned and how I grew to impact other people's lives and encourage other people's or do better in my job. I'm stepping into the story that I want to live coming out of a really hard place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty freaking amazing to just be able to overcome that potential feeling of shame that you were talking about. Like, you were
Mhm.
responsible for what got you into that situation, and now you're responsible for taking what you learned and being
Yeah.
able to use that to bring value to your life and the lives of
Mhm.
so many other people. Like, that maybe is one of the most beautiful things about the lessons that we learn.
Mhm.
We get to actually connect on a much deeper level with other people who get it too, who've maybe been there or are in it right now. And we do really get to speak that value into their life. Like, this is what I learned from this. Maybe it'll shift them into the mindset of being able to learn something from whatever situation they're in, you know? Like they don't need to necessarily learn our lesson, but if they can see that lessons are possible to be learned in general, then like, you know, I don't know. Just it really does get to be a beautiful ripple effect. But I think something that I would love to invite our listeners to do is get creative this week. Sit down on the floor with a blank piece of paper, crayons, paintings, whatever, your journal, however it is that you express your creativity. Maybe it's in the kitchen like me, but like just be with those thoughts and like, I don't know, open up to the dreams and imagine yourself sitting with the divine, like physically being there and create together.
Yeah.
That's the next level. It's like, it's not just me like putting down, you know, my own dreams or anything. No, it's, I'm tapping in. Like, how does that get to be?
Yeah. And if you realize right now in listening to this that you're like, man, I kind of have like handed my pen over to fate, or my pen has been in the hands of fate for a long time, it's okay. You get to take it back because it has your name on it. Like this story has your name written all over it. And you get the beautiful opportunity to say, you know what? Okay, today is that day. And if it takes a little bit of time to take back ownership over, you know, various areas of your life, that's okay too. Learning how to take ownership of your story can be a process. And it's not always a quick process for everybody, but you know, growing in bravery and courage and gaining clarity on where you want to go, and, you know, making small steps is a big deal, because those small steps add up. You're going to start, you know, ridding your life of things that, you know, aren't life-giving, that aren't beneficial. You're going to start adding things to your life. We want to encourage you, add things to your life that make you come alive. Figure out what those things are. Try a bunch of different things. Like Michaela said, get in the kitchen, or, you know, go out for a walk, get with other friends, ask them, have you seen things that you think, like, when I think about my friend, I think about these things, and I know that she loves these things. Go do those things with other people. Don't just do them alone. Invite other people. Get around inspiring individuals who are owning their stories, and let them speak into your life with love and encouragement, and just, get the fire going.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. And if you guys feel so inclined, we would actually love to hear from you, like hear what some of this stuff is inspiring from you. You can always feel free to email us at thrivefullyalive@gmail.com, or send us a message, Facebook and Instagram at thrivefullyalive. Comment on this podcast episode, or you guys can send us a direct message. But this is the kind of stuff that we absolutely love hearing from our listeners. We get individual messages here and there, but it's so incredible when we do hear these stories, and to know that, like, we're not alone. You know, we are all figuring out this whole life thing together. Why not inspire one another to learn what it takes to really live a life that feels fully alive, that is fully lit up? And that's what we love being able to share here too. And it's not, I mean, obviously we bring people on here to share their own stories, but if you feel inspired, you know, even from this, like, what does it look like for you to co-create your life, to take ownership over fate, and just, live fully alive, you guys. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And we will be back next week for another interview episode. We're so excited to be bringing so many people on, and just absolutely love getting to share this in this space with you guys. So we'll see you next week.
All right. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to So What Makes You Come Alive. We're so inspired by the conversations we get to have with everyday humans about what lights them up and how to love the story they're living. We hope that you feel just as inspired too.
Interested in getting in on the inspiration? Click the link in our Instagram bio at Thrive Fully Alive and select the option for The One About You. Be our guest. Remember to tune in each week for a new episode where we explore what it looks like to get back to living our best story. where we hope that your favorite story becomes your own.